What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. It's time to talk about WWE Hell in a Cell 2021, which just ended a few moments ago. We're going to break down the card, tell you what happened, tell you our thoughts on what happened, and all the usual stuff that we do here. Who are we? Well, if you can't tell in the description below, and you don't know us by now already, hi, I'm Tony Mango, and I'm joined by Robert DeFelice.
Hi, Tony. How we doing tonight?
We are doing. How we doing tonight over on your end? Is grass greener on your side of the fence?
Yeah, listen, it was a very uneventful pay-per-view. I could have done without this one.
Yeah, here's a challenge, everybody, and this is going to be the challenge that we're going to do, actually, for this edition. Tell us what happened at Hell in a Cell without just saying the results. Because nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
It's going to be difficult. It might not be a super long edition just because nothing really happened. But we'll try to have some fun along the way.
I hope that I know we tend to stretch these, but I think this time it's serious. Like, nothing happened, guys.
So we're going to rely even more on discussion in the chat if anybody wants to bring up any kind of ideas and stuff. I see that Peter's here. I see William's here. William says, "Get Hell in a Smell, just go away now." Yeah. Well, before we get like too deep into this, just a reminder, if you do have something to say, definitely chime in and tell us what you're thinking. Do that by sending a tweet at Smark Out Moment or at our individual accounts, Tony, Mango, and Dude Felice. Or you can post something up on Facebook or post something up on the page on smarkoutmoment.com, or you can hang out in the best possible spot, the live chat right now going on. But if you couldn't check it out, check it out. I went a Canadian there for a second. Check it out.
Check it out.
If you couldn't check it out and see what it's about, I'm not the slightest bit Canadian. I've never even been to Canada. But if you want to check it out, post when we're doing this live, then of course drop a comment below anyway, because we'll still see the comments and still interact with everybody and stuff. And while you're over there in whatever fashion you are, hit the like button, hit the share button if you want to pass this along to somebody who you think might be interested. I always love it, by the way, when somebody's tweeting out and I can see like on my Twitter feed that it's kind of like, name a podcast that you're really into and somebody will be like, "Hey, check out Smark Out Moment." I'm like, "No," usually makes my day.
Yeah, because it's good to know that people care, because we do a lot of these, and it's nice to know people are watching.
Yeah, sometimes that's like legitimately the only thing good that happened in my day. So it means something when those things happen. So you hit the share button if you do think that you want to pass this along. There's the applause button if you want to add something to our tip jar. There's the join button, which is the same thing as the Patreon. On both sides, you get access to the dark casts if you at least donate to that tier. That's kind of the whole point. There's also the Pick Your Poison tier where you can request something, so on and so forth. You guys know the score. You know about the merchandise shops on TeePublic and Redbubble. You know to follow Fanboys Anonymous. You know to check out the Review to a Kill series where we get more into things that actually do happen and we enjoy. Where, we talk about 20-something Bond films and be like, hey, there's still lots to talk about. Not a lot to talk about for this. I see in the chat, John says, "Hey, Angry Tony tonight, my favorite."
That's nice to know that Angry Tony is somebody's favorite. Listen, you're gonna get a very apathetic Rob, because I'm disappointed that I had to sit through it for my job, but I'm also just disappointed as a fan. Like, nothing occurred. This didn't need to be 3 hours, 4 if you count the pre-show.
Was it a pre-show? Well, it was pre-show, I guess, but you're not going to get full-blown angry Tony tonight. It's more, it's kind of more the apathetic thing. It's like, well, that wasted time.
Exactly.
In the grand scheme of things, this is what happened tonight. It's closer to the 21st of June.
So what you're telling me is the day went by.
Yeah. I mean, it's 11:05 right now. And what WWE accomplished was they also continued to go on the same time scale as we did.
I'll say this. It was the end of an era for sure in multiple ways. That was the last pay-per-view from the Thunderdome. And that was the end of Drew McIntyre in the title picture, at least for the foreseeable future. So that is something, because the entire pandemic era has been kind of held up by Drew McIntyre in the main event scene, and now he's not.
So in the chat, John says, so more like disappointed dad, Tony.
It is Father's Day, so you get what you get.
It is Father's Day, and you know what? While we're there, we'll just talk about it. Check it out, manscaped.com. Head on over there, check out the different products that they've got, and take advantage of the partnership that we've got going on right now. If you use the promo code SMARK, SMARK, you get 20% off and free shipping. Now, of course, Father's Day did pass by, so if you didn't pick up something for Father's Day and you were going to, and now you're going to retroactively buy a gift and go, it didn't come in the mail earlier, or like, whatever that kind of thing is.
Listen, you don't need an excuse to say, hey, Dad, I want you to care about your grooming the way I care about you.
It's an awkward conversation, I'm sure.
It's a very awkward conversation. One that I'm glad I never had to have.
And another one where they go, yeah, well, I asked you what you wanted for breakfast, and I didn't expect this, but okay, son.
Said all I wanted to know was if you wanted more bacon. Why are you handing me this?
Well, if you want to save some bacon, then you can use your 20% off code. Pat in the chat says nothing says Father's Day like balls, folks. That's true. That's one thing we all got in common.
Because that was your first home, folks.
Yeah, that was very true. So, and Adam says it's an awkward conversation, and I'm glad we're having it.
Because here's the thing. You were a winner on that day. You were the fastest swimmer. Congratulations.
Look, some of us, that was the only day we were a winner, right?
Or for some of us, but you're going to be a winner again when you present your dad with Manscaped, because he's going to love you more, because he's going to say, my son cares about me in a very awkward yet touching way.
So definitely check out all the products that they've got there. We will give you some more information later on with some specific things. I got another package coming my way pretty soon about some things I'm going to be trying out. So thank you to Manscaped. Thank you to anybody who takes part in this partnership that we've got going on. It helps out not only whoever buys the products, because that's the point, you get the products. It also helps us out, and it helps out Manscaped. So it's a triple win here. More wins with this kind of promotion than there was for the pay-per-view. But thank you again to Manscaped. And let's pass things along here with the rest of the stuff we're going to be talking about, the majority of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, the actual pay-per-view.
Yeah, here's my first gripe about things. And this is something that if you tuned in early enough on this live stream, you'll see that I made fun of. You click on these things a little bit ahead of time if you're able to. Obviously, if you're running late, it's a different story. But somebody like me, somebody like you, we got to do it for our job. So we're settled down at least 5 minutes before this starts. And not only is it annoying when we get the whole, like, this one starts at 7, this one starts at 8, this one starts at 7:30, this one's 6:30, this one's 5:30, whatever that case is. We know it's going to start at 7. So at 10:07, I'm loading up Peacock, and it's giving me this weird thing where it's saying that it's not fully, like, loading correctly. And when I click on it, it says that the pay-per-view is going to start in a few minutes. And when I load the thing, it lets me click live. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. And when I click live, it refreshes the page after like a second. So I'm thinking, okay, it's a little bit strange, but once we get to 7 o'clock, it's going to be perfectly fine. And I noticed at 7:01 that it's not going anywhere. And I'm thinking, all right, well, it takes some, sometimes a couple minutes, pretty much every single time for NXT UK to get started. But then it's 7:05. Then it's 7:10. And I'm thinking, all right, come on, something's up here. And I actually pay attention to the screen, and it says, the event's over. And I'm thinking, well, goddamn, I was worried that this was going to be a waste of my time. I didn't know that it was going to end immediately.
God, I wish it did.
It would have been a lot easier, right?
It really would have. And then Bo Dean, a wonderful Smark Out Moment writer, says in our group chat, oh, it's working fine for me. And I was ready to say, maybe it's Tony. But then I go, oh, he's not from America. So he's watching on the network just fine, because I go to Peacock after Tony tells me he's having these problems, and I'm like, it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to watch the majority of the pre-show on YouTube, which isn't a problem. It's just more of a nuisance. Like, son of a bitch, you.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to go to the backup option for that, which not only is that the backup option, it's also not behind because Peacock's still behind. By seeing it on YouTube, I could tell that they still didn't fix that. They're still about 2 minutes behind.
Every single match was spoiled for me up by Twitter.
That's infuriating. And I hate this idea of like, well, they said wait until SummerSlam. No, they gave you an arbitrary time frame that they said that's the thing we can't not have it finished by, or else you guys are going to be going crazy with us.
And by the way, they did add the rewinding. I was able to rewind.
They did that. I think they did that before. I know they had it for in your house. I don't remember if they did it right before that or pretty much just for that. But they've added that recently, which is like, cool. We're back to the way we were, before the switch. It's not it's a positive in that it's wrapped in a negative. I don't like when people are. You guys would probably know this by now. Everybody in the chat, Ostro, what's up, Ostro? And all these other people that have been listening for years. You guys know me by now for a lot of things. I am not the type of person who says, well, it could be worse as a good thing. Because to me, that's terrible.
That's adamantly maddening to Tony Mango.
It is something that makes me so furious because, like, I don't know, you chop off an arm. And somebody goes, well, you still got your other one. And you go, yeah, but I'm missing an arm, asshole. Like, you know what I mean? There's nothing good to a negative in any scenario. No negatives are good. It's only if a positive comes out of it. And then you can really justify it as, well, the negative led to the positive, and that's okay. But I personally think more, well, the negative didn't need to happen. The positive was the only thing I wanted. Right. You don't need to, like, if you get fired from your job and you find a new one, it's like, well, you could have been saved the humiliation of being fired from your job and just being offered the other one and taking it. That's the best case scenario. I'm more of, I'll try to look from the glass half full, but if the glass is only a quarter of the way full and it's dirty water, I'm not going to say, well, it's something to drink, like.
That's so specific. Yes.
I have that because I have a bottle of water in my hand right now and I'm thirsty, so I'm thinking about the water. But, analogies aside, when it comes to something like that, just because they fixed the rewind thing to where it was 4 months ago does not mean like, wow, they got it all sorted out. No, that was still multiple months of not having that. And we're still behind by 2 minutes or so. So I don't check Twitter during the pay-per-views like I should be as a good fan, because WWE wants you to be plugged into all these things. But you can't because it gets spoiled. So
never mind, as a good fan, I have notifications on for everything because you never know when they'll break something. Because as we're going to talk about in about 2 seconds, the pre-show match was just advertised randomly at 6:30.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, they're going to do Natalya and Mandy Rose. So I have notifications on for everything, and I was spoiled all night long.
And that match, too, once we get past the idea that, well, if you can actually watch the thing and you've gotten past the whole pre-show thing about, there's no need to watch the pre-show if you've watched all the other things and vice versa. Natty and Mandy Rose have a match that really is completely inconsequential. But the one thing that could have happened here that, again, wouldn't have been great, but at least it would have served a purpose, is if Mandy would have won. Because at least then she could have said, I beat Natty at the kickoff of Hell in a Cell, so maybe we deserve a title match.
Yeah.
Instead, Natty makes her tap out, which means the one tag team that's in the women's division lost.
Yeah. Gotta love that tag team division, Tony.
Oh my God. It's like, who is booking this? Who thought that was anything?
You know who. Well, actually, I honest to God, I was gonna make a Vince joke. I don't know who the hell would be like, yeah, this is great.
Whoever says it, they're wrong.
They're dead wrong.
Yeah. Cal's car corner in the chat says DQ and a roll up. WrestleMania DQ and a roll up. Peter says I was looking for the pre-show all day, found out on the show. Ben says because that would be productive, Tony. Natalia's never-ending push will never not baffle me. I don't mind Natty getting the push, but
let's talk about that for a minute because I, for one, was a bit of a jerk at WrestleMania when Natty and Tamina won over the Riot Squad. Looking back on it now, that makes all the sense in the world, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, when they're going into it going, well, we might as well fire one of them in the next couple of weeks, then, yeah.
But, then you look at this and you're like, I don't mind Natty. I love Natty. I think Natty's great. I think Natty's one of the best in the world. People don't understand why Natty's been there for 10 years and they're just pushing her now like it's the best thing. This isn't great, but we're supposed to think it's great because Natty and Tamina finally have something. You know that, right? That's all this is.
I mean, that's all almost anything is. You're supposed to think it's great because.
I'm tired of that.
Yeah. And a lot of things in WWE, they don't even bother filling in the sentence other than it's just because, period. Then you go, because what? And they go, shut up and watch it or don't,
And there you go.
So now I'm assuming on Raw, we're going to waste another 15 to 20 minutes on some backstage thing where Dana Brooke and everybody is just kind of like, oh, well, we had that match, but there's a rematch and, whatever. And that's exactly why people who don't have to do this for their job don't watch. And that's exactly why somebody like me will be like, okay, I'll have this on in the background and I won't actually put my eyeballs to my screen when it happens. I wish that could have been the same case for most of the things on this pay-per-view, because, man, I have nothing to say about a lot of these. The first official match of the main card, at the very least, was the SmackDown Women's Championship Hell in a Cell match. We've talked about this for some of our predictions, but we didn't get into some of the other predictions because we recorded the hot tags on Thursday night, and when you know it, you have to wait until after SmackDown on Friday night to get the full card for the way that this is. But the last time we talked about it, this wasn't a Hell in a Cell match.
No.
And they decided to put that in the cell probably for two reasons. Maybe three. One being, well, we don't have another Hell in a Cell match because we took the one away.
Stupid, yeah.
Two, well, there's really nothing that we have going on here. It's a feud that revolves around, I already beat you, but you laughed at me.
That triggered my bully response.
Again, kind of thing.
And I've said this. This is too John Cena 2011. This is too, bologna, fudge, and mustard. I'm so mad. Like, poopy caca. Like, it's...
bologna, fudge, and mustard.
That is something, I said that in particular because John Cena used to legitimately say bologna, fudge, and mustard instead of swearing. Like, that's what this felt like. Oh, I was bullied. It's like, I understand this, but dear, you're having one of the best years of anybody on camera. You beat the bully 3 times. You don't need to prove yourself to the bully.
And I also find it a little bit hard to believe. I mean, I'm sure that there's been cases in her real life or whatever, but like Bianca Belair is a beautiful, incredibly talented, smart, and capable person. And I'm like, what is she getting bullied about? Like,
Oh, people are dicks, so that's like, you can at least see that happening.
It's just like, the bully story works itself out so much better when it looks like there's an obvious way to bully somebody. If somebody's like, even like a Braun Strowman, it's like, yeah, people could have picked on him when he was a kid because he was really tall and really big. And I could see that being the case. People being like, there's a, probably not. That's the best they could do for that one, though. But, I could see people picking on like a big kid. I could see people picking on like an ugly person or a dumb person or somebody who is not great at sports or any kind of like particular scenario. Somebody who's socially awkward, whatever. But I'm like, I don't know. Bianca seems like she's like, checking everything off the list. I can't
Damn, Tony,
imagine.
I'm right here. Why you gotta like I gotta describe me with all five? Jeez, Tony.
Well, you are not the prettiest girl in this match. I can tell you that. If you
I
want
can
to,
agree to that.
if you want to bully Rob about that, you can.
I can agree with that.
But like to me, I would just assume that Bianca in school that she was like, I don't know, a captain of whatever team she was on and president of the student body and prom queen. Like just kind of, hey, I had everything going for me because I'm very talented and a hard worker. God, okay, bullied, sure. Pick on that kid with all your, I don't know, disposable income and exceeding talent or whatever. I don't like. The story isn't doing much for me, and I feel like another reason why they did this inside Hell in a Cell was maybe not, but there's usually at least some pushback from some people if there is not the same gimmick.
Ben, comment in the chat if you would have been upset if the women didn't get one of the cage matches.
Because that's something that maybe WWE didn't specifically do that for that reason, but there are people that do complain about that on a regular basis. Like, I would be upset, for instance, if we went through a Royal Rumble and there was only the men's Royal Rumble. At this point, no, you do a women's Royal Rumble as well. I don't feel like if you did a pay-per-view called, Fatal 4-Way again, I wouldn't think you needed to have a men's Fatal 4-Way and a women's Fatal 4-Way. If there's just a women's, it's fine. If there's just a men's, it's fine.
Who won the women's Fatal 4-Way at the Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view?
There was a Fatal 4-Way there?
Yeah, in 2010.
No, I mean, there was a women's Fatal 4-Way on that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. Wait, all right, don't tell me who won. Let me try to guess who's in it, because this is way more interesting than Hell in a Cell. So, the year was what, 2012?
It was 2010.
2010, okay.
2010. So it was...
Was it Kelly, Eve Torres, Beth Phoenix, and Maurice?
It was...
Probably none of them.
Only... So you got half the field.
Which ones did I get?
You got Eve and Maurice.
Okay. All right, so now Ben in the chat says Alicia Fox, Gail Kim.
He's correct.
Wow, Gail Kim was in that. Well, Gail Kim didn't win.
Won the Divas Championship, the only time a black woman won the Divas Championship, in 5 minutes and 42 seconds at the only WWE Fatal 4 pay-per-view.
Wow.
Actually, 11 years to the day. June 20th, 2010.
Huh.
Look at that. I didn't even know that.
Memorable. I like Alicia Fox. I don't remember that at all. Then again,
Also,
though, I can't tell you what the other Fatal 4-Way was either. I can tell you that the Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view happened, and I can tell you what the logo looks like, and that's it.
Not that good either.
Was it Orton?
It's Orton.
Did he win?
He does not. Sheamus defeats John Cena, Edge, and Randy Orton to win the WWE title. And in the other Fatal 4-Way, Rey Mysterio defeated Jack Swagger, now in AEW, Big Show, now in AEW, and CM Punk retired for the last 8 years to win the world title.
Ben also says, I don't know if I should be proud of my Divas knowledge with matches like that. Be proud. Why not?
Yeah, be very proud, because at least Fox deserved it.
So this match happens, and it's fine. Like, they're talented, so they did some stuff that's good. I wrote down at one point, Belair can do a backflip off the turnbuckle with ease. Meanwhile, I twisted my ankle the other day jogging by just stepping weird, and it's very humbling. Like, I've been limping for like 5 days now, just because I have been trying to like walk around more and get a little bit of exercise, and I stepped weird. And it's like, she's like, backflip off the turnbuckle, I'm fine, whatever. And I'm just gonna like,
well, now your first mistake is trying to be healthier.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the matter with you?
Yeah, I always forget about the Sisyphus rule. You can't fall backward pushing the boulder up the hill if you don't bother pushing it up the hill. You know,
Well, there
they
you
can
go.
just stay at the bottom of it, and you could be like, "Yeah, that it is what it is." Teddy should have ended the coverage at this match happened. Yeah, I probably should have, right? Just pull
Well,
Drew. It was a match.
but look, it's a Hell in a Cell featuring two of the most talented women. They tried hard. These matches are so based around spots. This feud did not need the Hell in a Cell structure, but they tried hard, and it's another women's Hell in a Cell. Bless them. You know, they did the thing. I think Bianca is the first non-horsewoman to enter Hell in a Cell. So kudos to her. And yeah, it happened.
Trying to think of if there's anybody. Was Alexa in one?
Nope.
Nia wasn't either.
It was Charlotte, Sasha, right? Sasha,
Yeah.
Becky, Sasha, Bayley, and now Bayley, Bianca.
Huh. Interesting factoid. But
I'm folding tonight because we got to pad this thing out.
well, since WWE can copy and paste everything, I'm going to copy and paste something multiple times throughout the night. So I'll say it now, and then I'll just say, I don't know, copy and paste before or whatever the hell. I don't know. The match itself in a bubble was fine. They're both very talented. They're both capable of more. The build leading up to this was crap. It ultimately means nothing. And I'm sick and tired of rematches. And that will literally apply to Cesaro versus Rollins, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, and Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. It's just they're better than this. They did a good enough job. Good enough isn't good enough. That's not an excuse for WWE doing this pay-per-view.
I couldn't agree more.
So that kind of covers literally the majority of what this whole pay-per-view is. So at the end of the day,
see you later, buddy.
Bianca retains her title with KOD over a ladder, which, the way that Hell in a Cell matches are these days, they don't need to be Hell in a Cell matches because they are just regular matches with a couple weapons where there's a cage around there. And the cage basically doesn't get any kind of play other than they're running their face on the grate of it. So if you would have taken the cage out, it would have been the exact same match. And if you would have taken out a couple of the weapons, pretty much would have been just a normal match.
Again, couldn't agree more.
Can't tell you a single spot that happened in it.
Couldn't agree more.
William says Eva Marie would have saved this show. I don't know about that.
Oh, dude, that thing is DOA.
Which one is it? Is she 8-ball chains?
It's always
Skull?
8-ball. We learned while doing the damn Smarkle quiz. It's always 8-ball.
Wasn't there chains at one of those where it was just like keep typing out 8-ball, then eventually it's chains, and it's like, God damn it. Check out that Sporkle quiz, everybody. We were doing that on a random Darkcast one time. We were just like, let's do some Sporkle quizzes.
BSing.
Yeah, just that's what you get when it comes to the Patreon stuff. You get in the middle of the night where we're like, I don't know, quiz stuff. More fun time filler than what we got on this. I liked Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. I didn't love it. I like their match at WrestleMania better. And this is basically just a means to have, Rollins won now. So now we do a third match.
You know what was amazing? That video package and everything in it was able to completely act as though Cesaro never faced Roman Reigns at WrestleMania Backlash.
Yeah, because it ultimately doesn't matter in the grand scheme, right?
It did not matter at all. So I gotta assume they'll have a third match. They'll have like a 2 out of 3 falls on the last Thunderdome episode of SmackDown on Friday, July 9th.
The one that's going to have fans?
No, the last one in the Thunderdome. As a payoff to the beautiful people in the Thunderdome,
See, I'm thinking that they'll have that on the one before Money in the Bank. Because that's with fans, right? That Friday?
Yeah, that's the first one with fans.
They want to do something on there, which is, they got to stretch everything and they got to save things to do it on the other thing, and there's a reason for it, but at the same time, it's not like that I like it. I kind of think if you have to stretch yourself so thin and save everything for that, then maybe you don't need to have that much TV. But what am I other than logical to a fault?
Yeah, stop being logical.
I've got nothing at all to say other than Cesaro and Rollins are good. They had a good enough match, and we're getting that rubber match. Nothing else.
Are they in the ladder match?
I assume so. What's weird about the Money in the Bank is we've gotten anywhere between, I think, 4 was the smallest, or was it 5?
It was 5. It was advertised as 4, and then they threw the Miz in at the last second.
That was the one where it was the former champions, right? Cena, Big Show.
That John Cena wins with the meme.
Yeah.
Face. You're like,
so it's like,
I did it.
They can have 5 people, or they can have like 10. And there's certainly more than enough people on the roster that they can slot enough people in there. You got Morrison and Damian Priest, and you've got these two here, and you've got Owens and Zayn and Big E and Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura and Otis, and it's already 10 right there, and I haven't even gotten to like half the people. You could put the Ricochet in there, you could do Drew McIntyre in there, you could do, there's plenty of people. I assume they're in there, but maybe they don't, and maybe they do it to it at 3 falls or something at Money in the Bank.
So if there's, I'll say 4 from each. I think representing SmackDown will be Cesaro, Rollins, E, and Edge. I really think Edge should win this briefcase.
Gonna open my roster page here on the handy dandy page on smarkandmumba.com.
I'm gonna pitch this. I don't know if I've pitched it on here. I've said it several times on other podcasts. I think Edge should win the briefcase because somebody needs to show people that the briefcase can matter. And I think Edge, with the history that he has with it, could mean so much to that briefcase this year.
Give me Edge winning it, and Mr. Kennedy takes it from him.
So, I did legitimately think about, and we'll get to this at SummerSlam if we had the chance, what if Edge won the briefcase and Cena beat Roman and Edge cashes in on Cena?
That'd be cool.
Just like, here you go again. They did it again. Like that. I think that'd be great.
So I'm looking at the rosters right now. If it's 4 and 4, or if it's 5, I'll do 5 and 5 just to give myself 2 extra people. On SmackDown, Big E, I feel has to be in the match.
Has to be.
I don't think that Apollo Crews has to be because he is the Intercontinental Champion. He should defend it against somebody instead. I think number 2, I would probably go with Kevin Owens.
Number 2.
Number 3, Booker T. I think Corbin makes a lot of sense for number 3. And number 4, I would go. You know what though? Yeah, I think I'd keep Cesaro and Rollins out of it. Because if they put Cesaro in here, everybody's going to want Cesaro to win. And if they have no plans on Cesaro winning, it's just going to be a disappointment,
Yeah.
That being said, if the plan is to have Cesaro win, all things considered, I'm totally cool with that because there's people that I'd like to see win Money in the Bank as long as it's going to play out with something. If it's just going to be another Otis thing, then don't bother. But I wouldn't mind seeing Big E win Money in the Bank and do something with it, and because I like Big E, and I wouldn't mind if he wasn't tag team champion right now. I think it would make more sense, but I think AJ Styles would be a great Mr. Money in the Bank. I've been saying that for years. I certainly don't want Bray Wyatt to win it. But, I'd give it to man, if Keith Lee could come back and win it, that'd be a different thing.
Man, God willing.
But out of the list of all the people that's there, Cesaro would be somebody who I'd really be into winning, and I don't think that they're going to give it to him. So ultimately, I kind of think it might be a better idea to keep him out. Especially if he can do a 2 out of 3 falls or something, that'd be good enough. Now, if you're just going to do that on SmackDown and then you're going to waste it, and then instead at Money in the Bank, they're going to be like, hey, everybody, it's Lucha House Party against Shanky and Veer. Blah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I had Jinder on my fantasy team because I thought they were gonna run with him, but blah.
So we had that. Cesaro comes up short. Rollins is now even the score, so they're going to do a third one because they were going to do a third one no matter what. They're probably going to do a ninth one. It's how WWE does things now. At least they're good matches. So, if you're going to eat leftovers, pizza's something that could be eaten the next day.
And you can't make a better pizza than by swinging it like Cesaro. Am I right?
I've never been able to do that with pizza. Have you ever been able to do that whole spin thing?
I have not.
Yeah, I've tried it a couple times, and all I end up doing is throwing it up in the air and watching it fall. And I'm like, well, all right, that's dirty.
Santa Ricotta.
Santa Mozzarella. Check out Luca. We did a fan tracks for that. No, that was fun watching Luca.
Luca was great.
It's fun watching Batman Long Halloween.
That was also good.
Check that out coming up soon over on fanboysanonymous.com. Well, Batman has a whole lot of stuff about, mysterious things in the shadows and some otherworldly kind of things here and there, including Solomon Grundy. But the resident zombie and witch and all that type of stuff that we've got for Hell in a Cell was Alexa Bliss against Shayna Baszler, a match that really didn't need to happen. And, we were thinking maybe the reason why they were doing this was because this was their last chance to mess around with the Thunderdome.
They didn't even do that.
Nope.
Callum's idea of a giant lily, which turned out to be Reginald, was more fun and playful and dumb than what they did.
Now, I did like the one thing that they did here. This is the only part of the match that I liked. But what they didn't need to happen in a Thunderdome environment to where you could justify they needed to cram this in because we need to do it while we still have the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome's been very good for doing okay, now we just have these things pop up on the screens and we can record things without it being live, so we can do some weird stuff, and the playground can just spontaneously pop up in the ring, and all this kind of fun stuff that editing gives you the ability to do, which you can't do with a live crowd. What you can do in a live crowd is have somebody mimic somebody, because there's nothing stopping Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss from doing what they did here. If you didn't see it, Bliss basically hypnotized Nia Jax. She was holding up her hand, and Jax was holding up her hand, and she eventually moved her hand in a way that forced Nia Jax to slap Reginald. I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to justify spending the last couple of weeks building up to this match being the byproduct of the whole thing. And I certainly am not coming out of this pay-per-view thinking what they should be expecting and hoping and trying to get, which is, and, if somebody's brand new to this, maybe they don't remember the way that things are, but it used to be, well, I went through all the TV stuff and I enjoyed all the TV stuff, but that was really setting me up for the pay-per-view. And now the pay-per-view had some finality to it. I was excited to see it.
Told you, tune into the TV show because it's going to get even better.
It's either, well, we enjoyed the ride to the thing that says that's it, and then it's done and we're good, or we enjoyed the ride and we're still on the ride and now it's just got another little twist and turn to it. Lately it's been, well, the TV is kind of worthless because it's only the pay-per-views that matter, but the pay-per-views are worthless because we only care about TV. So you go, well, then because what TV matters?
Pays us more and nothing matters, Tony.
And then when you go, well, if A leads to B and B leads back to A and A doesn't matter and B doesn't matter, then neither matters. And you go, yeah, stop thinking about that and just watch. But the setup for this being, I didn't enjoy the ride to get there. I didn't enjoy the match itself. And I don't want to see a follow-up to it. So it's a failure.
I'll go one step further. I don't think you will. I don't think there is a follow-up to it.
You know what? And it's again, not to say, well, it could be worse, so that's good. But I'd rather them just have no follow-up than to continue to put this in the ground, because at least then maybe we can move on to something else. But that's not a
Indulge me.
positive. That's just not more of a negative.
Indulge me for a moment. Imagine, if you will, 6 years ago, when at the Hell in a Cell event, Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family kidnapped The Undertaker, and Wyatt absorbed the powers of he and Kane. Imagine, if you will, that they actually did something there. And then for the last 6 years, Bray Wyatt has been honing these powers and then transferred them to Alexa Bliss. How much more meaningful would her being able to control Nia Jax be? Instead of it just being like, I don't know, she's kind of quirky now because she spent some time with the Fiend, who kind of fizzled out again. Come on. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
We're doing the live post-show.
All right, Tony, I know what we're doing. I want to know why.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of all this is, other than they like playing around with this type of character. And, you know, I guess I'll kind of call back to another analogy of something. I used to play with action figures when I was a kid. Action figures were great. It's a great way to have something tangible and be able to use your imagination, whether it was like, you know, X-Men characters fighting each other, or I would usually set up my whole thing of like, here's all the Spider-Man people, like it's going to fight from this one all the way up until I get to Carnage. Carnage is, of course, the main villain of all of it. But I did remember playing with other kids that at different times would literally just smash the figures together. Do you ever see a kid do that, where it's just like, say like it's the wrestling figures, and all they do is they just pick the two up and just start bashing them as if they're like drums?
You know, I can't relate, because I was always the guy who would get pissed off that like I couldn't actually put somebody in the sharpshooter without like
that used to
breaking
drive
the
me nuts
legs
too.
off.
Yeah, I've broken many
Yeah,
figures by trying to do
like,
stuff like that.
like, so no, I can't relate to that, but I do know what you're talking about.
I
Because
did have
it's
some
simple.
friends like from back in the day that were just sort of like, you know, they'll hold like the legs of Wolverine and the legs of like, even worse, when they would hold like the legs of Wolverine figure and the legs of like an Undertaker figure, where it's like they're not even the same, you know, series or whatever, and they would just like smack the heads together and just like, and it's like, they're fighting, and it's like, oh my god, you are the most basic caveman type of person possible, right? Like, you know. And some of them,
all that to say, that's what WWE creative is doing.
Some of those people grew up to be the types that are just sort of like, yo, this action movie was so great. Did you see that explosion? Dude. And there was that part where he shot the guy. And you're like, what's the story? And they're like, boom, pow. Like, you know. But, you know, if they like playing around with the Alexa Bliss story character without a story type of a thing, then we're just going to get more of this. It's not going to lead anywhere, just like every Bray Wyatt thing, where you wait a couple of months and they go, yeah, but there was a box, right?
It's disappointing. It's disappointing because Shayna could be doing more. It's disappointing because
Alexa could be doing more.
Alexa Bliss at this point is so far removed from the goddess, where she was just, you know, the top heel girl on Raw or SmackDown. That was fun. Wasn't crazy about her as a face with Cross, but like I enjoyed Alexa then.
I've always been a big fan of her, and I think that she and Shayna are capable of so much more, which, again, to copy and paste from earlier, you know? Also, to copy and paste from earlier, Kevin Owens. I almost said Kevin Sami. I don't know why. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, two great talents who put on great matches all the time and had a fun enough match, which ultimately doesn't matter, and didn't feel like it mattered going into it. So now it doesn't feel like it matters going out of it.
I'm gonna disagree with you on one part. I do feel like something matters because Sami won. I was fully expecting just another Owens stuns him. Sami goes off about a conspiracy theory. Sami beat him with a haluva kick. It's good. Sami should be winning.
Needs to win every once in a while, yeah. But then again, it's like, all right, well, tell me what happened. Sami won a match that doesn't matter.
Let's get this out of the way. None of these matches tonight mattered.
No, there's a few, and by few I mean like 3 things that mattered.
Even the
on
ones
this
that
card.
were consequential,
right,
didn't matter ultimately, except for the fact that, as I said in the opening, Drew McIntyre's out of the World Championship picture, almost officially ending the pandemic era because he was the staple.
That's sad to think.
That's real sad, actually.
I'll talk about that in a moment, but that's really all there is to talk about the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens match. Not much more going on there. I don't have any notes about any moves for almost anything on this entire card, so I can't even point out, like, this is a really good maneuver that popped up at one point. Sami was bleeding.
Spit blood.
Yeah.
On the near the commentators, and Cole was just repulsed by it. And this was the earliest night Michael Cole has probably had in decades. Michael Cole was done at like 9 o'clock.
Then we switch.
I'll say this too. McAfee loves being there.
Yeah, he's having fun.
And that resonates. And it really does bring life. And Jimmy Smith, pretty good main play-by-play guy.
Solid guy, yeah. We had the Raw Women's Championship match, and that was the best match of the night, as far as I'm concerned.
Charlotte Flair looks like $1 million. She looks
like look green to me, or very paperish, or any of that.
She looks like an athlete should look. It looks like she has been eating, sleeping, and hitting the gym. Charlotte Flair looks tremendous, and I have to commend her for that.
Charlotte looks great. Rhea Ripley,
she's never
of course,
looked bad, but she looks
better than ever. Yeah.
You ever see like Triple H with Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and then you get to like 2002, and he's just jacked? Charlotte has hit her jacked phase.
With 2 Ks?
With 2 Ks, yes. It's the it's the Jobber show from the 2000s.
So she looks great in it. Rhea Ripley, like, whenever they have matches, they have good matches together. They've got the chemistry. So even though it's the same match, they kind of, I'll give them credit with this. This is going to be something that I'm sure this would be the one takeaway that they would take if they were listening to this. Despite all the flaws of how many things that they've screwed up along the way with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, and there are many, like, she shouldn't have lost to WrestleMania last year. Rhea Ripley should have had something to follow up with that. Maybe she should have already beaten Flair by now, that kind of thing. The one thing I think that they're doing very well, unintentionally or not, is that they're telling a story of they're on par with each other, but Flair is the veteran. And the more that they fight each other, the closer Ripley gets to being on that equal footing.
Yeah.
And they kind of screwed it up with the end here. You know?
No, they didn't. I don't like the end. I don't like the idea of a DQ finish. But I like the trash talk afterwards, where Rhea gets intentionally disqualified to save her title, and Charlotte's just sitting in the corner going, "You're learning, bitch." And Rhea goes, "I didn't do anything you wouldn't have done." I thought, beautiful. That's all you needed to tell.
I don't mean in the sense of they screwed up. It's bad wording on my part. They didn't screw up that story because that is proper storytelling with that. What they screwed up for me was I don't like DQs on pay-per-views. And I can make an exception if it's not 9 out of 10 matches on every single episode of TV. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this, and I'll do the bubble argument again, in just a bubble of itself, I'm cool with. But it is frustrating to watch every damn match on Raw and SmackDown, and even some on NXT, not as much, but even some on NXT, where it's like, it just does not end unless there's a DQ or interference. And then they do it on a pay-per-view and you go, guys, come on. You know, like, I think if you kind of set yourself up for that sort of a thing, maybe there's another way to get around it where maybe she cheats to beat Flair or something. You know, maybe she holds the tights or something. You know what I mean?
I like it. People immediately were like, so is Rhea turning heel? And it's like, God, let this damn story play out, man.
Well, they did have the Thunderdome thing boo.
Well, yeah, because you'd boo a DQ, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they're really playing weird with this whole Rhea is supposed to be
Listen, none of this
babyface and heel.
matters. Charlotte's winning the damn belt at Money in the Bank, and she's fighting Becky Lynch at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it's probably what's going to happen because way...
they're going to stack the fucking deck at SummerSlam so that you never remember the last year and a half without an audience. Because they're going to give you Charlotte and Becky. They're going to give you Brock and Bobby, probably. They're going to give you Cena and Roman. They're going to give you everything and more to where you literally go, what was COVID? That's the goal here, and they could probably pull it off.
I don't want Flair to win the title just to drop it to Becky. I don't want Flair to win the title at Money in the Bank to retain it against Becky. I mean, I really just want Rhea Ripley to beat Flair and to kind of get some closure on some of that stuff, but it's not happening realistically. Like, Flair's going to win that title at Money in the Bank, or what's going to happen is Flair is going to win Money in the Bank, and then it's going to be Becky becomes number one contender. Flair decides that she's going to say, I want in on this match at 2, and it's going to be a triple threat.
Yeah. Either way, Becky Lynch is leaving Vegas with the title.
And that I wouldn't be as annoyed about if it ended up being like Ripley keeps this belt going into SummerSlam. And you know what you do? Maybe you're just spitballing. This isn't something that I would necessarily do. But again, if they gave me the job today, maybe I would have to do something like this. Nikki Cross has been involved in all this crap. Give her a title match. Maybe have Nikki against Ripley at Money in the Bank. And you put Flair in the Money in the Bank match. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I'd be down for it.
Ultimately, are people going to go and think that Nikki Cross has any chance of winning? No. But did anybody go into this pay-per-view thinking any of this mattered? No. So,
nah.
You know, you do that, and the selling point's going to be the fact that there's a crowd to begin with and that there's Money in the Bank matches. So do Cross and Ripley, and then Ripley can retain. And then you set up the triple threat, and that way you're not just getting Flair against Becky again. You're getting at least Rhea Ripley in the mix. And maybe Becky pins Flair or makes Flair tap out. And then Rhea Ripley can be like, hey.
Really say, oh, you're just getting Becky and Charlotte again? It's been a long time. It's been 2 years.
Well, that's mostly just because they literally couldn't do it.
Doesn't matter. It's been 2 years.
Not an excuse in my mind.
I'll allow it. I want Money in the Bank to matter, and they win with me. They got what they wanted. I just want to see fans back because I just want to see an exciting show. So they won, as far as I'm concerned, because that's the exact reaction they wanted.
Well, what they should want is that everybody loves everything that they do constantly, and they can't spend enough money on everything. Not just like, you lasted long enough that now we can coast on the world getting better. Like, yeah, you can't call that a win.
They would, so I'm gonna call it a win.
They also call things a first time ever if it, for the first time ever on a Tuesday afternoon, whatever this kind of thing. I'm still waiting for the day that they just have Michael Cole just be like, for the first time ever, it's like, I don't know, Apollo Crews versus Big E, but this time I'm wearing a hat. Like, and he just puts a hat on, and he's kind of like, hat. It's different. And yeah, we have seen Becky and Charlotte enough times that I am not just like, wow, man, everything that they do is amazing and it's gold, and I'm just cool with it, because just because it's been a little while doesn't mean I want to see it again. Whether or not it's great. Like, I mean, I had said before, I didn't want Taker Michaels, Triple H, Taker Triple H. It's 4 years worth of WrestleMania.
You know what, though? Great story.
Could have been told in 2.
Not with that naysaying.
Could have been told in 3 at the bare minimum. I had said the longest time ago, I said Michaels fails to beat Undertaker. Next time around, Triple H is like, well, you can't do it again. I can't do it again, whatever it might be. There's 2 different ways you do it. Triple H tries it the second time instead of Michaels doing it the second time. Triple H fails, and then you do a triple threat. Or you do Triple H against Michaels for year 2, and then year 3, you do the end of the era match. There's a way around things. Anyway, and then he could have fought Sheamus. He could have fought Wade Barrett. We're living in the worst timeline.
We're really like stretching to talk about anything else other than this pay-per-view.
Yeah,
that's where we're at with this pay-per-view.
Rebooking WrestleMania from 12 years ago or whatever. Talking about Fatal 4-Way. But I'm worried about Flair winning the championship, and not because Flair's not deserving of the championship. She is. She always is. She's great. But I just don't want to see Rhea Ripley take another loss like that. I want Rhea Ripley to be cemented as somebody, not to be somebody who is perpetually. She'll be somebody once we decide we actually want to stop fucking around.
Yeah.
How many times are we going to hear Triple H talk about her being the future? Like McIntyre said, at a certain point, you stop being the future. When are you going to be the now? Rhea Ripley, I think, can be the now if they just let her. And if they just keep going back to the Flair's got to win it kind of thing, then you don't want her to be the now. Then you want her to be the somebody later. And that's not the same thing. But that's what we were working with. And then the final match of the night, the main event, was a Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre, where if Drew McIntyre loses, he does not get any more title shots against Bobby Lashley.
And look at that, he lost.
And the entire point of this was McIntyre wanted the Hell in a Cell to keep MVP out. But he makes the fatal mistake of bringing MVP in so he can beat the crap out of him. And wouldn't you know it, MVP is able to then interfere because he's inside the cell. And yeah, dumbass mistake, Drew. So I like that story.
I like the story. I think it went a little too long in terms of, okay, we got to give McIntyre every out for losing this match.
Yeah, he pretty much had the match won other than the referee taking a bump. He, of course, lost the match through interference. So even though it wasn't a full 2-on-2 or 2-on-1 attack, there was an extra person. So it's another out.
I'll say this. I also wouldn't have had Lashley win with the roll-up. He could have just speared him. There's no shame in losing to Lashley. He's a legit fighter, a legit competitor. I do like that Drew's not in the title picture anymore. It forces change. And right now, it looks like Kofi Kingston, Bobby Lashley, Money in the Bank.
I assume so. I assume Kofi Kingston loses that match, and then this whole thing about Brock not being a part of the mix is just a means to throw everybody off. I think that Brock shows up at Money in the Bank and attacks Bobby Lashley, and that's one of the last things that we see on that
hold
card.
on. What would you like more? Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar finally? Or perhaps Kofi Kingston goes for his redemption against Brock Lesnar.
What, Kofi beats Bobby?
Kofi beats Bobby, the place goes nuts, and Brock Lesnar's like, I'm going to do it to you again. Shouldn't have done that. Now I'd beat your ass again.
Nah, I'd go, as much as I love Kofi Kingston, I'd go Lashley.
I'd probably go Lashley as well, but there is a built-in story there where you can always go, I don't know, man. Can Kofi beat Brock Lesnar?
To be fair, if I were booking things, we'd go through a 1 year kind of reign where about 6 people would beat Brock. And people would be like, oh, that ruins his credibility. Tough shit. He could retire tomorrow as far as we're concerned and never wrestle again. I would have Kevin Owens beat him.
I'd have maybe 3 people beat Brock. I don't know about a full 6.
I'd have Owens beat him. I'd have Lashley beat him. I'd have Roman beat him soundly. Like, beat the piss out of him kind of a match. I'd have Matt Riddle be the last one to beat him.
I'd have Roman be the last one to beat him. I'd have Roman, like you said, beat the shit out of him. Yeah, like, McIntyre beat him decisively in 5 minutes, but so did Goldberg. Like, Roman needs to bloody him and beat him.
I'd have Keith Lee beat him. Of course, I would also have Keith Lee if he was healthy.
That was a rumor for Mania? Was it McIntyre, Lesnar, and Keith Lee?
Mm-hmm.
Wild.
I think that might be it. So maybe that's around 6. Oh, I probably have at least a Cesaro match. I don't know if I'd have Cesaro beat him, but like, you know, at least I'd have those couple of people.
Cesaro should try to swing him. Because Brock Lesnar's a big man, so Cesaro would look amazing if he could get that done.
So instead, we get Bobby Lashley going forward with a question mark about whether or not we're going to get Brock Lesnar. I have literally no idea in mind who he could fight at SummerSlam that's worth it other than Brock.
So if Kofi were to get the match on Money in the Bank and win, depending on who the Money in the Bank case holder is, you know, maybe it's E. And maybe E's like, I love you, I respect you, let's tear the house down in Vegas.
I can't imagine that happening.
I'm just giving you options because, like I said, my dream scenario, and yeah, I'm old, guys, at this point, is Edge wins, Cena wins, Edge cashes in on Cena, Roman goes off to beat whoever. Like, I'd like Edge and Cena. I know it's old and played out, but I literally see nobody on the young talent side who needs this briefcase, or better yet, who can restore credibility to the briefcase.
Man, you know who would have been a really good Mr. Money in the Bank?
Who?
And this is kind of like, well, no shit, Tony. Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, well, yeah, you said it. Like,
I mean, he's only like the fucking greatest, but you know what I mean? Like imagine like real douchey Shawn Michaels from back in like
a 94, 95
yeah,
Shawn.
exactly. 94 Shawn kind of where
Can
he's
you
just
imagine the element of Money in the Bank in the 97 rivalry between Brett, Shawn, and Taker? Where like they already don't like each other, and then they're just, you know, holding this briefcase over the other person. That's Money in the Bank is such a useful tool, and that's why I want somebody who can restore some glory in it.
Yeah, I
And
really
and
want.
again, we would rather talk about anything other than this pay-per-view.
I already wrote up an article that'll be coming up in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I forget when it's supposed to be. I wrote it up because I was passionate about how to fix Money in the Bank and not screw everything up anymore going forward. And
Can you
yeah, I'm
imagine,
excited
like,
about
Owen
that.
Hart
Oh God,
cashed
Owen
in
with
on
Money in the
Brett
Bank.
and like,
Yeah,
yeah, I did it when you were at your lowest, but I beat you, and you can never take that away from me. Yeah, because I'm the best there is, best
that's
there
why
was.
I cashed my briefcase from under your case.
Yes, it's oh my
Always
god, what
love
a
that. That's why I kicked your leg out from under your leg. It's
can
one
you
of
imagine gold dust with I'm gonna go down
the
a
gold
rabbit hole
briefcase.
of like who could I give this briefcase to? Obviously, this is a no-brainer. The Rock with Money in the Bank, Hunter with Money in the Bank, Kurt Angle, really douchebaggy Kurt Angle with the Money in the Bank. What a great storyline tool.
You got Mr. Perfect, where he goes, "I'm waiting to cash in at the perfect time."
Ah,
Like
it writes itself,
Peter
guys.
mentions $1 Million Man
Oh, you would,
being Mr.
yeah,
Money in the Bank. Like
absolutely.
him just popping up and teasing that he's gonna cash in, and then when somebody stops him, then he just goes, "Ha ha 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 ha."
So good.
Man, I love Ted DiBiase. He's great.
Randy Savage. I could literally run down a list of every year who I would have cash in.
Adam says Jake Roberts, Jake the Snake, man.
Oh, what a manipulative son of a
He
bitch. Can
opens
you
up the
imagine?
case and it's a snake inside.
And there's a snake in there, dude. Yes.
He's like, "You can call
Ah.
me Jake the Case Roberts."
Can you imagine saying like, you never know where the money is, but I always have everything in my favor. Oh. Oh God, wrestling can be really good.
You want to play 21? I've got 22 in my case.
Damn right.
Man, this would be so much better podcast if we were just doing fantasy book, other Money in the. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that as a dark cast or something. We'll just end up being like fantasy book, who should be
3 a.m.
Money in the
on
Bank from
Wednesday.
all those years.
Oh,
That's
God.
fucking happening now that I'm saying it. That's gonna. God, it's probably gonna happen later on, isn't it? It's probably gonna be after we get done doing this.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here and then just go do that. Listen, Hell in a Cell was okay. It was a C minus of a show.
That's being generous.
D plus. Like I can't call it a failure.
See, I wouldn't call it a failure, but did you ever have one of those classes where all they say is you either pass or fail with a satisfaction?
Yeah.
Where it's like, technically speaking, we didn't even bother grading you. You just literally showed up.
Yeah,
Like
I think that
a gym
I'm
class
pretty
or
sure
something.
by the end of it, that's how I graduated high school. Like, that's where we were, and that's where we are right now in WWE, and it sucks. It sucks.
Took that opportunity to drink some of that water. Glass half full. At this point, it's not. At least the water bottle isn't. I'm down to, I don't know, maybe a ninth of my Camelback. And that's Money in the Bank. That's not Money in the Bank. I'm already looking ahead. I'm already looking ahead to the podcast. I want to do more. That's so funny. It's a Hell in a Cell. It's a hell of a show. Totally memorable, apparently. Good things are good, and things that aren't just are whatever they are. It's
mediocre things don't require much discussion, but we gave you a little bit of discussion and a lot more outside discussion.
Yeah, some outside interference with that, but now we know we're gonna get something else with Lashley going forward. Probably Kofi Kingston. We didn't get Roman Reigns on this pay-per-view, so who knows what they're going to do for Money in the Bank for Roman Reigns. But a couple of things we should learn tomorrow night, or they're just going to maybe wait until we get closer to Money in the Bank.
I hope they don't.
Well, if we end up being anywhere like we were for this edition, we'll figure out half the card the night prior or something, or maybe we'll get the pre-show match after the pre-show at Money in the Bank. Either way, when we find out more information, we'll let you know. There's always updates on the pages on smark@moment.com for all of the pay-per-view predictions and stuff. We'll always keep you updated as we go throughout the weeks leading up to this. We'll eventually do the next edition of the Pay-Per-Viewpoint. We'll talk about the predictions for Money in the Bank. We'll talk about other Money in the Bank related topics as well. Like the next thing that we're going to be doing outside of this Darkcast that we're probably just going to do because it's fun.
Yeah, we're just going to do it.
Yeah, this is going to be a Darkcast you'll find on the Patreon and up on the YouTube side of things on the members only. But the next game plan is Mount Rushmore of Money in the Bank winners. Maybe things change, maybe they don't. That's currently the game plan. And then, of course, we got another episode of the Hot Tags. And we're going to kind of roll along here because episode 500 is coming up. Not this next episode, but the next one. So for that one, again, in case things change, maybe they don't. Card's always subject to change. Current game plan is to go back to what we had done on episode like 10 or so, I think it was, where we were just doing this overall assessment of the roster at that point. And it was mentioned by APM, Awesome Piano Man, to go back on episode 500 and to just look at that roster again, see how things have changed over the years. So we're probably going to do that. Maybe we'll tie in some other stuff. Then I think the week after that, we got Mailbag. We're quarter 3, which is kind of crazy. Which that'll
Mailbags make me nervous.
Why is that?
No, every time we go live, people seem to get released.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's only for the second quarter.
That's true.
So the third quarter, I don't know, maybe we'll have a whole bunch of hirings or something.
That'd be nice.
That'll happen, as well as setting up the tournament for the Heat of the Moment tournament. And then we'll roll on with Money in the Bank stuff. You know, eventually we'll do a Call the Spot. We don't really do that on a podcast form. I do it usually up on the website, but maybe by that time we'll decide on doing some kind of a fan tracks or fan announce table. Fan tracks are over on Fanboys. Whatever it is, if you're subscribed and you stick around and you follow us, then you'll find out when you find out. But I got nothing else to say about Hell in a Cell.
I got nothing else to say about Hell in a Cell either.
If you do, drop a comment below. And just to round things out here, as I mentioned before, check out all that we've got going on smark@moment.com because you'll find every little thing, whether it's on the podcast stuff or it's just on the editorial stuff on the website. There's also fanboysanonymous.com for all the non-wrestling stuff, as well as some wrestling stuff here and there, like the No Holds Barred fan tracks that we did. And, you know, we got Batman Long Halloween coming up on at midnight on the 22nd. That's when I scheduled it for, just to kind of space things out a little bit. And then there's the Review to a Kill series about the James Bond franchise. And we're eventually going to get to the point pretty soon. We're going to be watching the Austin Powers movies as part of that. So that's cool.
I'm so excited.
And yeah, other stuff under a Mango Tree you'll find in some fashion by following me. I'm at Tony Mango. Rob's got his stuff going on. He's at Dude Felice.
I am at Dude Felice. You can follow me literally everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, any social media. Type in Dude Felice, DUDEFELICE, and there you go. I'll be there and I'll be talking wrestling. I would like to talk more animation. I'd like to just do more in general. We'll see what the future brings. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you indeed for listening, everybody. Thank you for taking part in the live chat. Adam, William, Peter, Ben, John, I might have sent anybody that was in there, Cal, Ostro. If I'm missing anybody else, then I am sorry. And if you couldn't check us out while we were doing this and you were leaving a comment, then I'm thanking you in advance for that. And hopefully we'll be seeing you guys soon. And hopefully you'll be listening to that Patreon thing that we're going to be recording in the next couple minutes. But that's going to do us in for this pay-per-view-point. We will see you next time, everybody. But for now, this has been yet another Smark Out moment. And we're being counted out.